everyone. Welcome to another episode of the CTO podcast. In this third season, we are talking with tech communities, and today the topic will be recruiting community in Portugal. And we are talking about Recruit Better. For that, our guests are Gonçalo Sequeira and Cláudio Menezes. Welcome you both. So Gonçalo was the founder of this community, Recruit Better. After so many experiences in Portugal, I believe that he became a digital nomad, but he can talk in a bit about that. And Cláudio runs the go-to company in Portugal when it comes to effective hiring. So they seem like the right people for today's show. So thank you for being here. And let's start with a quick introduction about yourselves. I don't know, maybe Gonçalo can go first.
Yeah, I can start, Sarah. Thanks a lot for the invitation to you and to Pedro. So it's a pleasure to be in this podcast. My name is Gonçalo. I worked for 9 years in the recruitment scene. I worked for Fidzai and also for Mercedes-Benz IO in Portugal. Then I moved to the Netherlands for 1 year. It was really nice, but then I decided to be a digital nomad for a while. I also started my own company last year. So basically, I'm trying to travel, work, and have pleasure and meeting new people every day. And we also restart Recruit Better this year together with Cláudio. So it's really nice to be here today and to share more about what we are doing.
Fantastic. Cool.
I think I'm next, right? So hi Pedro, hi Sarah, my dear friend Gonçalo as well. Thanks a lot for the invitation. So who am I? So it's quite hard to describe it because I'm a 42 years old dinosaur.
I'm older.
Computer science. Oh, okay. So we have another dinosaur. Proud father of Vicente, which I deeply love. Computer science by heart. So I was or I still am. So there's always a doubt on me. Computer science degree, people passionate, founder and shareholder of 4 different companies, everything about people and HR related. I'm an inefficiency lover because I love to fix difficult problems. I'm curious, and some people may say that I'm a bit stubborn. But
some people.
I don't
Just
know.
some people.
No, but look,
in a nutshell, that's who I am.
That's super curious, right? Because so there you go. Both of us, we are both on our 40s, and we both have a kid called Vicente. So that and we both wear a beard, and we were software engineers back in the day.
Wow,
that's how consistent Portugal is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very same old. Look, thank you so much for the intro. It was super interesting. Now, we are talking, about obviously tech recruitment or recruitment here in Portugal. Like, how is this being, evolving the industry? And I think that for everyone to really understand, Recruit Better, the community that that you're both leading. We would like to know more about it, right? Like, kind of not only how it appeared, like what was the sort of need, when it started, but also how come it's relevant, right? Like, what's this need, being, in plain 2023, so many things happening, kind of creating a community where, people might sense some sort of belonging or so, but I will want to hear from all of you. So who wants to start?
Yeah, maybe I can start, and then Cláudio will tell us why it's relevant, and I'll tell you guys why we started. So in May of 2018, I had so I was working at Mercedes, and I was used to work until 8 p.m. At Fidzai, and at Mercedes, everyone left at 6. So I had 2 hours free on my day that I could do more stuff. And I was like, okay, just to give some context. And then I was like, I want to learn more about recruitment. I want to learn from others. And I saw some events outside of Portugal, like Hired BCN, for example. And there was a couple of international communities regarding recruitment. But in Portugal, there was only one called HR After Works. And I went to 2 of them, and everyone was in a suit. And I like tech. I don't like suits anymore. And I wanted to have something different and to allow people also to have a different experience, a more close and a more intimate relationship with each other. So I spoke with a guy that was super senior in the area. We started to arrange the event, and we had a date. We had the space, and 3 weeks before, the guy stopped answering me. Completely gone.
Oh, wow.
I was trying to call him. everything. He didn't gave me any feedback. I won't speak names, but I think Claudio knows who is he. And then I call another person, Pedro Hipólito from Argo Talent right now, and I worked with Pedro before. And I told him the whole story, and I told him, Pedro, we want to do an event. I would like to invite you. We'll be in Isqueté, and we will talk about recruitment. Then I talked with Isqueté, and they invite also a teacher to help us in the panel. And we did the first Recruit Better event in May of 2018. We had like 25 people in, which was also already quite nice. And basically, I started to advertise that on LinkedIn. That was our first event. To be honest, I don't recall the topic. I should have researched this before, but I don't recall the topic. But was
People
super
will
nice.
search it.
Yeah, exactly. And was face to face, was super nice. The planes were always passing by Isqueté, so we needed to stop for a few seconds.
I know. I studied there. Oh Jesus, yeah.
Yeah. So not the great place for events, at least that room, but was our first in-person event. And after that, we started to usually every 3 or every 4 months more Recruit Better events from 2018 more or less until 2020, 2021, because we had like a stop in the pandemic, as every single community that goes.
We observed that exactly.
Yeah.
We observed that a lot on all communities, to be honest. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and basically then we started to get sponsorships. We spoke with Damia, and they did also a workshop. That was the biggest event from Recruit Better at that time. I think we had like 60, 70 people in a room doing a workshop about sourcing. So we had a couple of different events. Our main show was panels. So usually we invited 3-4 people to discuss a topic, and was always topics that were relevant for the community. So we asked a lot of times people that show up on the events, hey, what you want to know, what are you missing? And that's how we planned the next events. And one thing that we really like also on the events was we have more or less 45 minutes to discuss a topic. And after those 45 minutes, people just have a pizza, just have a beer, and we mingle together and do some network. And that's how I started to get to know more people in the industry and to share more knowledge. And that was super, super important. And this year in 2023, we decided to restart Recruit Better community. Thanks a lot to Claudio, because he was the one saying, hey, we need to restart with this again, because we were completely
Claudio was the spark.
Yeah. So I will pass the word to Claudio to say why this is relevant in 2023.
So this is a way of giving back to the community. So we work with a lot of people. So if I want to do a comparison, is more or less when I start working as a software developer back in the day on Nokia. Nokia has all the good ingredients to become a good developer. What I mean about it, though, they already had a CI/CD. Things that in the day we didn't have any kind of exposure in Portugal. So when those sparks of quality that makes a good and relevant software engineer that we learn at the university, and sometimes we didn't apply on our daily jobs because we're doing some maintenance or we're doing some consultancy close project that was, without any kind of, I would say, architecture, or we wasn't exposed to big projects. That's what we want to do it with Recruit Better, because the Recruit Better wants to defend the class, a recruiter that sometimes is not so well perceived as a good element on this kind of ecosystem, which means that perhaps because people sometimes don't know how to do it better. So, and because they are taught by their own companies to send spam messages, and they are nagging all the developers, and sometimes they just got bad copy and paste and call it Sandra instead of Sarah, for instance, and those kind of things that doesn't contribute for a good recruitment experience. So, and all the best practices and all the things that I myself and Damien was exposed internationally speaking, and we want to give it back to the community. And our way of saying thanks for all of this is putting back and share the best practice. Kind of Elon Musk. I know that probably is being hate for some of the audience when we share the battery thing with the community. So it's the kind of thing that we want to do. We want to give it back.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And you mentioned there that promoting good practices and sharing, it has been, or it is one of the topics inside of this community. I wonder if there is any other topics that you try to approach inside the community, connected with the nowadays and the things that we have been seeing?
Yeah, there's a lot. So we only have 45 minutes, right? So I'll try to
choose one.
So, no, the thing is, everyone likes to feel special. Everyone. So, and when we are among the community, we if we're going to buy Nespresso, so don't need to thanks for the advertisement, Nestle. So we want to go there and say, "Hi, Mr. Pedro. Hi, Mr. Sarah. Would you like to take the Voluto capsule again?" So, and they will actually offer you coffee and go in through the door and give you the bag and thank you and come back next time, which is a totally different, I would say, experience that going to a shelf on Ping Doce or Continent and take it from the shelf. And we are, in both situations, we are buying coffee. What you tend to do if you have the same kind of price range, or really depends on you as a consumer, but you are more pleased to go back to Nespresso rather than going to the shelf and take it, okay? So, and recruitment and everything in life is like that. So if you are a great wine lover, you go to Vivino and rank it, your wine. If you are doing a trip, you go to Airbnb and see that you like the apartment or not. So everything in life is an experience, and you need to rank it. There's more and more communities that rank it. And recruiting, it shouldn't be different. So you need to have a pleasant way of being recruited and to recruit. And that, for me, it's the big paramount thing that we need to being advocated is people feel special, customized, personal, and that you can be, I would say, because you are being exposed when you approach someone on behalf of some other, you are exposing a brand. So, and the first way of doing an onboarding is setting the first message. So the first message is the first contact and impact that you have your future employee. So if you don't have that kind of in mind, you're probably not doing a good job. So, and that's the way that we need to highlight the community. That's the good things to do. At least what we defend that is the good practice to. Just to give you one example.
No, okay. For sure, Kenneth experience.
Yeah.
Of course, Kenneth experience. And here's a question that that I was thinking of. Because so we are in 2023, and I can say that I think I've seen more in 9 months, regarding events than in probably my 20-year career, like we already mentioned that we are dinosaurs. So here's the thing, like I've seen people, getting, not so interesting salaries. So there was a moment where, working as a recruiter actually sucked big time, right? Like you're not getting an interesting salary. You're making offers that you say, Jesus, is this company going to pay this for this guy? Like what the hell? Does he walk on water? Right? Then we saw a massive need for recruiters, because everyone wanted to recruit 1,000 engineers. So I need more recruiters. That makes some sense, right? So all of a sudden, boom, in recruitment, we start seeing salaries going up, and we've seen layoffs where, unfortunately, besides the go-to-marketing teams, recruiters tend to be also part of the weakest link and say, you know what, we are not going to hire, so let's just fire them all. So my question for both of you is this a good time to be a recruiter, and why?
Depends. No, I think it really depends, because for me personally, I think it's always a good time to be a recruiter, because I like what I do. I love what I do. I like to be with people. And I saw those trends that you mentioned, Pedro. So I started my career, the first 2 years, I was receiving like $800 and I was feeling rich. And then I changed to tech and I was receiving 50% more. And I was like, I'm the one getting the least in the company. So how I will upgrade my salary and how I will grow from there. And that's how my passion for recruitment kind of started, especially the tech part, because I saw a lot of opportunities to first understand what the business does and then bringing people to help that business to grow. And that's why I like to do in recruitment. And that's why I think recruitment has a future. However, there is a lot of people that start on this area because they see it's cool, because they think that interviewing people all day, it's something that is not boring, but it becomes boring over time because you are always doing the same thing, always with the same kind of pitch. And you need to go out of your own routine and trying to implement new things in recruitment, how you approach people, how you deal with your processes. So I think last summer was a great time to be a recruiter. Now there is a lot of people being laid off, but if you are a good recruiter, you can find a job. That's for sure. Might take 2 months, might take 1 week, but you'll find a good job for you. If you are a okay recruiter, it will take more time. if you suck in your job, will take forever. Or you might get lucky and go to a nice company. I always say that a bad recruiter in a good company might be doing a good job or might be appearing doing a good job. A good recruiter in a bad company will have a lot of struggles to stand out from the crowd. So if a good recruiter is in a good company, that's the right fit. But what is a good company? What is a good recruiter? That's another question. But I think I have this view that is always a good time to be in any role if you are passionate about it, if you have the skills, if you want to learn more about it. But if you just go because of the money or because your father told you so, it will be tougher.
Interesting.
Yeah, I share the same opinion about it. So one of the things that we saw, it was a lot of people, and not especially in Portugal. So I see a lot of on the UK people that, for instance, were working in construction and they do a kind of a contractor-based job, and they don't have any kind of experience. They are just sales guy, and the thing that they do is just always calling people like a contact center. Hey guys, you want to work for £600 a day? Yeah, no, next one. And that for me is not recruiting. That is a call center. Okay. In a way that you do it, and if you are passionate and you are good, you always have a room in recruitment, because there always be backfill roles to fill, or even some companies that probably were laid off, but other that they are hiring. If you are good on something, you always find a good job. It's like, I don't want to do a comparison, but it's like kind of, I don't know if this is a good comparison anymore. Cristiano Ronaldo, so he can choose the club that he wants to play. Probably not after 40 something. So we are in bad sheets, Pedro. So after 30, I don't know.
Exactly. We are already downhill. That's the thing.
No, but recruiters are like wine. They get better with age.
They get better with age.
No, I was actually thinking, that everything that you were saying, I thought about, kind of creating some sort of hashtag hug your recruiter, because I think
that's a good one, man.
No, because here's the thing, I think that it's so underrated, the work that a recruiter needs to do because he's, probably the business card of a company. He's the face of a company. He does the same thing over and over and over again, with an interesting twist that for the recruiter is like the 1,000th time he's doing that. For that person particularly is the first. So you need to keep your energy level super high, be super friendly, just like if it would be the first time. I deeply admire the work of recruiters.
If resilience needs to have a face or a name or a role, it would be recruiter. I think the one that loved this job, definitely resilience is probably one of the biggest words.
Agree.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, this is very interesting, because I always look at recruiting always from the recruiter perspective. So the candidates, I never looked from this perspective. So it's been really interesting for me to learn the other side. And I wonder, so if you look to the tech world, which is the one that I am seeing the most, along with my colleagues and so on, this whole pandemic story and the remote work, we saw a lot of people moving to Portugal. We also saw a lot of people start working remotely. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if for the recruiters, if this also started to happen. So have we start receiving a lot of recruiters also from out of Portugal? Did we start having recruiters in Portugal starting working remotely for other companies outside as well? How did this happen for this area?
I don't see it, I would say, much difference. So when I see, for instance, on the software developer, for sure, that definitely
changed, right?
Happens. Yeah, change. But on the recruiter side, I don't see it that much. So you see that, of course, there are a few examples of everything in the world, but at least for the big majority, I don't see people going abroad to work for a company, or even here working for the US. Or if they are working here for the US, definitely are recruiting in Portugal. Okay, because one of the things that the companies does the most is hiring local communities that speak the same lingo.
I was going to ask that question.
Yeah.
So you see that a company from abroad, when they want to establish themselves in Portugal, they go to the local people that understand the context, the trends, the industry, the way
the trends
of doing things.
that they have their own network of people that they are together. Because one of the I would say the biggest ingredients of this is having your own network. People rely on us, and then not relying on the company. Sometimes is relying on the recruiter because they know that you do a good job. If I will ask for a new challenge, I will go and meet Claudio and say, I mean, you know what, probably I'm a bit bored now. I don't see, do you have something that is good in the market? This happens for me all the time. I won't say weekly, but I would say monthly for sure. A couple of folks coming to me, oh, Claudio, I'm working for, I'm not pleased anymore. Can you help me? There's anything interesting? And my first question is, how desperate you are? Because the thing is, so if you want to move now, probably I have just these few choices. If you have time, let's wait. And as soon as I have something for you, I will knock your door.
Yeah. And just to add to that, Claudio, when I see companies moving to Portugal or wants to hire people in Portugal, they don't start with a Portuguese recruiter or someone that knows the market. They take a way longer, and they fail completely. So I think we both know a couple of examples on that thing.
Yeah.
I would just like to add, not answering the question, but one thing that changed after COVID, it's the way that we do our work. Because before COVID, I did a lot of phone screens with my phone. And after COVID, I kind of stopped doing phone screens. I started to do Zoom or Google Meeting screens because it was easier to set up a call with the candidates and was better for everyone. And we get to know each other since we couldn't meet face to face after the first screening. So that was also a shift a little bit, at least the way that I do recruitment. It changed after COVID and after we discovered that we could do a phone screen through Zoom and through video, and that really helps. Right now, it's a balance between using the phone and doing video interviews. But in the beginning, in 2020 and 2021, I just did video interviews, and that works much better because it was the only way at the time.
And before that, on mics, now I'm using the dinosaur thing. Some companies or some hiring managers, Claudio, I don't want you to interview them by Zoom or by Skype.
Really? Does that happen?
I want you to meet. Yeah, I want you to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow,
so that
cool.
actually was a requirement. Do you know why? I don't know the answer either. So I don't have a reason.
They want to know your smell.
Exactly. Your perfume.
Exactly.
So here's a very interesting segue here. So I think last week or so, I don't remember, I saw a tweet about like a founder, like a CEO, I don't know, someone from a small sort of company, but definitely with 300% attitude. And he tweeted something like this. Oh, called me old-fashioned or dinosaur, if you will, but he just said old-fashioned. But I really appreciate when the candidate sends a thank you letter or an email or whatever. And so that person was kind of criticizing that, let's say, you, Claudio, would be interviewing you, and I just didn't send you a thank you note. I read that stuff, and I actually was going to, to give him some hard time on tweet, and then I decided to use my hands just for good and not for evil, and I said, I'm not going to do this. Because I look at that and I just said, look, no, you're not old-fashioned. You're just completely, kind of out, like ignoring the fact, right? You're just an ignorant, because I believe that the market is now much more recruitee or candidate-driven and way less recruiter-driven, right? Like I'm from back in the day when it would be probably like 100 people asking for a single job. And now I think it's actually on the opposite, right? I think that we've seen way more interested on the kind of a candidate being able to be picky and really deciding what's his next move in the career. And I think that definitely the companies really need to put an extra effort. Do you see that as, like the norm right now? Or are we still seeing some companies really struggling with that new fact?
I think you can have all situations. My personal feeling is this is a two-way thing. Why shouldn't he send thank you for being in an interview?
Exactly, of course, right? The recruiter, right? Saying, "Oh, thank you so much."
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why not do both, and the other one reply or say thank you? So this is a kind of a negotiation. This is a relationship. So in order that you can have a relationship, the very fundamental is having trust. So you need to trust that the guy is saying the truth, or at least you want to think that is actually a good project for you, and you need to be interested. So this is a two-way kind of situation. And one of the things that you need is to put yourself, and you need to be picky. Either people needs to be picky. I want to have the right, job for my future because I aim to earn more, or I aim to have a better project, or I aim to change cities. Whatever is the motivation that you are on that recruitment process, you need to have that in mind as a candidate, and you as an employer. Okay, what kind of advantage this hire will give me to, what kind of added value. So, and this is the kind of both situation that I saw quite often, and that makes totally sense for me. So this is a relationship. So, and this needs to be good for both. And that's all.
Yeah, agree. And I think this type of message needs to add value somehow. If you say a thank you message just for the sake of saying, "Oh, thanks a lot for interviewing me," why? If we have, if we have a segue, say, "Oh, we spoke about this. I have an article that is interesting because of this and that," even from the recruiter. So a recruiter can send us, and when I have a subject to speak with my candidates, I will do it. If I don't have it, I won't say thank you just because. So, but that's me, that I don't like a lot of bullshit.
One of the things that we also need to be really comfortable. So we are assuming that we are working on an occidentalized environment, because if you are recruiting people from, I would say, China, for instance, definitely you need to behave as a different person, right? So probably that thank you thing has to be there. So we are assuming that we are talking about, Anglo-Saxonic countries kind of approach, because I'm just thinking out loud, because one of the things that we do on Damien, we usually see some suggest that we see a movie that was a book before, now is a movie, and everyone will talk about the movie itself. So, and just because I had this morning that conversation with my team, so we work the American factory, and all the cultural clash that we have on the Chinese culture implemented on the US, it's kind of very rich, because we are so different, and one thing that looks good for you, it's terrible for the others, and we need to have that in when you're doing a recruitment process, because I already had terrible experience, or I would say recruit people that are really people and companies that are totally different for what they expect. And again, doing a good job is the way that you set the right expectation. If you set the right expectation and you accomplish that, you are doing a great job. And if you don't reach there, you are doing a bad job. That's doing actually is giving setting the right expectation and giving feedback is probably the two best things that I would say that it's more important on the recruitment process.
Agree, Claudio. I'm just adding two things.
And walk the talk. If you say that you're going to do that, you need to do that. It's a matter of trust. So you only build trust because, Pedro, I'm going to tell you tomorrow if you will have an offer or not. And even if you don't, you need to say, Pedro, sorry, I said that I told you Friday. Today is Friday. I don't have an answer for you. But say something. If you just ghosting people, and just to share my personal experience, I'm only on this industry because I was a kind of a bully for my wife. That, in a sense, okay, don't get that part. Don't get that part. In a sense that she was working on the HR field, and I was a software developer, and I was really, really. Can we curse on this? No. I will behave. So I was really intrigued.
Upset.
Not to say upset. Okay, thank you, Pedro. I was really upset because I was, again, from the recruitment company called me, and I was a trainee. So I was a Java software developer. That's what I was doing my first 2 or 3 months, and I was involved in the recruitment process for a solution architect role as a trainee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
that's
I
a classic,
went there.
right?
No, it shouldn't be. So I went there, and I was everything that I learned it. Yeah, I learned at university. Oh, about the architect. Yeah, I learned at university. So you don't have any kind of practice at all. No, I'm only working for a few months there. And why? Because that recruiter convinced me that I was the perfect fit for the role. And when I got home, I was really frustrated with myself because I like to be good on everything that I put on my effort. And I went to that interview, and I came to my wife and said, I was not prepared for this. You didn't tell the," and I was kind of, why do you guys say that? And then I was the perfect guy, and they didn't send me a feedback, something that I was not selected for the process. Why are you guys doing that, guys? Because starting to blame the industry, because my wife works also in the industry, and that kind of things intrigue me in a sense that, okay, this is something that definitely needs to do better. And then I, after 7 years, I'm managing companies that has this kind of problems, and this is the solution. So just to give you also a kind of how I get this as a software engineer, how I get this industry. Yeah.
That actually triggers me for the next question, because in the last years we saw a big growth in so many companies, so trying to hire so much, and probably the recruitment processes had to change, right, to become more agile or to become faster, and maybe changing the way that we evaluate candidates. I don't know. Yeah. But could you share some of the differences that we saw in the recruitment to become the process more agile and still evaluate properly the candidates and not make those mistakes like you were sharing?
No, because to add to you, Sarah, right? I can't even imagine the pressure of a recruiter when he gets some sort of briefing saying, "Oh, you know what? We are going to hire 200 people this year," and I don't know if the recruiter just goes to the bathroom and cries and then comes out and says,
"Good luck.
Okay, I'll do it," or you know, it's
how did they
pressure,
handle that pressure? Yeah.
And the process, everything, right? It takes a very long time. Yes, Gonçalo.
Yeah, but usually, at least I when someone tells me we need to hire 200 people this year, I'm quite excited. I'm saying, okay, we need to hire, I don't know, 20 or 30 per month. Let's do it.
Let me grab some coffee.
Yeah, let's grab some coffee and tackle that and start to call Claudio to see if we can get some help as well. But I think that's, at least for me, it's super exciting. So that's why I joined Fidzai. That's why I joined Mercedes, because they had that type of challenge of hiring so many people in a short period of time. But like a few years ago, recruitment process was way longer, and usually we had very deep technical tests. I remember that at Mercedes, the first backend test, Claudio, was like 8 hours or 12 hours they need to do as a candidate. And we had candidates that deliver one solution, and after 2 days, they deliver a second solution that was even better. And at the time was this type of people that we wanted, because they were making a commitment in the company, they were showing their skills, and that's what every company and every recruiter loves, right? A candidate that is engaged, that is good technically, that has a good communication, that really goes for the extra mile. However, the market in 2023, I think it's completely different. People don't care so much about where they are applying, because they have so many different options that they won't spend more than 1 or 2 hours doing a technical assignment, or they won't spend more than 2 hours doing interviews. And people want less interviews and a faster answer on the process, instead of taking a way long to make a process ready. And I think this is a change that recruiters already told hiring managers before, and already advised companies to change, and companies are changing. Yesterday, I was talking with the clients, and they want to do 2 interviews and close the process, because they want the person in end of March, and they want to provide a good experience. And before, they wanted to do 1 hour and a half interview, and I told you, hey guys, let's do 1 hour, and then if you have more topics, you do an extra half an hour later, because it's hard to find 1 hour and a half in our agendas anyway.
Or even from a focus perspective, right? I can't imagine like being, in the zone for 90 minutes, just being evaluated. That's quite a stretch.
Exactly. But I noticed that companies are much more aware of this and much more willing to change.
Thank God.
than before. However, that I'm generalizing, right? There is companies that probably still stick with their own ways.
Again, there are examples for everything. So, for instance, this is actually how you set up the perspective that some people have from the outside of your own company. For instance, I would say not. Thank God we are changing a lot on that perspective. But if I can recall 2 years ago, one of the things that I invest more time on is saying that your recruitment process won't work. So if you want to set up a new brand in Portugal, whatever, you're coming from abroad, you are a product company, which is a good thing, and you want to set up sending a codility test without even ever word with the candidate is not a good recruitment process. Mm-hmm. And people won't commit. But I want commitment. Yeah, you want to get the commitment for someone. Take yourself in the other people's shoes and think about you. Do you think it's pleasant to have you only can do it if you are Google. I won't say, or you are Facebook, or you are Amazon. So you have such a strong brand in the market that people will die or kill yourself to get the job. Otherwise you won't do it, and that's not a good thing. Also, is in a way that I will try to not even do that, but at least putting in thinking that is not a good thing, that companies ask for a week challenge, and they say, okay, the recruitment process, and we have a 1 week challenge. You mean 1 week? You mean the people need to send in? No. They usually is like 30 hours. Yeah, okay. And my answer and my question, okay, how much are we going to pay for the guy? We're going to send an Amazon voucher card? No. But he's performing some job, so I think it's fair that we need to get. No, the fairness of thing is you'll get the job, but you're not assessing their technical skill. You are assessing their motivation. Do you think it's wise in order you can accomplish the 200 hires, and you have that kind of process? And it's not passing at all. And then of course I have my own thing in a sense, because if you go and see on your own Glassdoor, that's everything is doing it, and if you want to change something on your reputation, that's one of the things that you need to tackle. And of course we have all the kind of things that we want to do it properly in a good recruitment experience for everyone, because the hiring managers because one of the things that people don't realize, and I was having that kind of problem when I was doing some assessments on the software part, there is reviewing tests was a pain. Is something that on the backlog is the last thing that I do. And one of the things, so bear with me, Mr. Hiring Manager. Your team, you want to recruit 200 people, okay? You want to do a code assessment with 30 hours of it. So people will perform coding. We have a natural barrier, which is people that are not committed within your team, engineering team. How do you think you're going to work the 200 vacancies, whatever, on this time frame? No, you'll get 1 month and 200 months. When you get the result for him, the candidate will already be hired for someone else. And you're going to lose them. So it's a waste of time for everyone.
Again, it's the candidate-driven market. And it's interesting, because even when we're talking about, 30-hour challenge, or, or something like, let's expect that the person invests, 1 day or 2 days, whatever in this.
Yeah.
We are already narrowing this down so much, let's say. Probably I don't know if the person is married or not, because, if you have a kind of a busy social life, you're already kind of being ruled out. If you have a kid, God forbid, there's no way you can do that. Because remember, are you actually just going for an employed people? And I'm seriously doubting that that's the serve target that companies usually go for. Now, obviously, with layoffs, it's a little bit more okay. Yeah. But definitely no one wants people that is unemployed, right? Like, we want just to attract extremely successful somewhere else. Now, how is that even possible? How can I be successful in my work, in my craft, have a family, have kids and such? And then I just pull 30 hours out of my ass, sorry for the expression, and I'm going to start coding a challenge. It's nuts, right? Yeah. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, but now it's much better. So I don't do this pitch much more anymore. Actually, this year we're only in February, but okay, this year we didn't do that much. So I think people are realizing that
we are improving.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think companies. Sorry, Pedro. I think companies are much more aware of that, because they lost so many candidates before, and maybe they lost so many offers, and they lost projects because they couldn't hire people.
Okay.
They needed to involve and to learn quickly, and they also have partners that sometimes helps them to go on the right direction. So I believe that in 2023. Only really companies that are off the market or are just starting and they don't know what they are doing will have this type of attitude.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me one thing, you both. So Gonçalo, Cláudio, so both of you're definitely, at least when I think about recruitment, definitely both of you just pop in my mind, so you're a reference for sure.
Thank you.
Both of you work in the tech space.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, was it just, for the sake of, it just kind of happened, I just fell in love with the tech space? Or actually you've seen, that recruiting in, construction, retail, tech space, government, that in tech is where you definitely see, the best practices, where definitely the recruitment, gets to the excellency sort of point? Or do you think it's not about the industry, it's about more about the brand that is hiring? How do you see that? And I don't know if it's a coincidence or not that both of you are definitely in tech. So
in tech is where the money is. in my opinion.
Just that? Just for the sake of, or
not just that, but I think that deviates in different things. That if you have more money, you have more money to invest on a better process, on better tools, on better training for your employees. So I think it's a lot around that. And tech also needed to hire more people in a shorter time than any other field. So if we are looking for building a marketing team, maybe they have like 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and it's already a quite big team for marketing or for finance or even for HR. If we are talking about tech, 5 people, it's one team, and you need maybe 5 or 10 or 8. So I think that need of the market of needing more people in a faster periods, and the market also have more money, brought more recruiters for the tech side. Also for the recruiters was much more interesting to work in tech because the salaries were much higher. Like if you start as a tech recruiter, probably you can receive like 1K a month. If you start as a generalistic recruiter, if you receive 700 today or 800, maybe that's a good amount. So only this difference will bring more people, I would say, for the tech side. And then on the tech side, there is more complexity also on the projects and also on the profiles, because if you're a good tech recruiter, you'll try to understand what people are doing. And at least for me, it's easier to understand what a finance person is doing, what a marketing person is doing, because it's more familiar. And even in HR, we have classes about marketing and about finance. About programming, we don't have it. We need to search it. We need to look for it. So I think it takes also more time to be a good tech recruiter than being a generalistic recruiter for a different type of fields. But this is a bit my view and also my experience. Because when I started recruiting, I did everything. Then there was one company saying, hey, we need developers. That was the youngest one in the company. So I was like, yeah, let me do it. I was saying yes to everything at the time. And then I started to see, they need so many people here. Why? Oh, people don't want to change jobs. Why? People are really satisfied where they are. Why? And I started to see there was a segment that was growing. And then when I moved to be a tech recruiter, I understood that the money was there. And for me, this was one of the biggest motivations to be in tech. I won't hide it because I want to have a good living. I think everyone wants to have it. And I saw also the opportunity on it, because I think sometimes people can say, hey, you are money driven. Yes, I'm money driven because that brings me opportunities. And I think everyone wants opportunities to grow as a person, to grow as a professional, and money allows that. Yeah, that's a bit my view. Not sure.
So compensation, challenges, and means to get the job done. What about you, Claudio? What would you say?
It's love, man. I mean, I'm super in love since early ages. So I had the Spectrum 24K. I became a software developer. Then suddenly I realized that I was not being well recruited, and I want to fix that problem. So I went to the other side of the border, I would say. And then I feel my passion. So because one of the things that was lacking is the kind of people interactions. We didn't have much back in the day, at least on my projects. Was a really I don't want to put the stigma on it, but was not the guy that are on the basement coding and stuff. I was not that kind of guy. I was the guy that loved to talk about things and solutions and stuff and try new things. And I just find an industry that gives me that kind of appreciation, realization, and that's why I am here. I love what I do. I'm absolutely passionate by tech and people, and of course also on the money side, just to stick with what Gonçalo said, product companies has a lot of money to invest, and all of us would like to have fast cars and better cars, in a sense that we have this kind of tooling on the companies. Doing, for instance, where I was having recruitment in an Excel spreadsheet, it's not good. Probably it's much better to do it on an ATS built on purpose for what you have. So the tooling is absolutely paramount for doing the things quicker and good, because we are only humans and humans fail.
For sure.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. Yeah, I learned a lot on this. It was. I think we could continue talking here and asking more things. Again, I never thought on this other perspective from a recruiter side, so it has been really interesting for me. But we need to start landing the plane.
Yeah.
Although we still have two final questions, and I will start with the first one. It sounds a bit cliche, but I will ask you for your favorite quote, and it can be anything.
Yeah, it can be in
that
Portuguese as
inspire
well.
you, or
Quality is not an act; it's an habit. For me, is my favorite quote
From whom?
Damn.
from Aristotle. It sounds really clever. But actually, I do it a lot, and I preach a lot within the company. One of the values that we have is level up. I think we need to do better, just because we need to do better, because the competition, all the other that comes. If you don't innovate constantly, this happens. The train will catch you, and we need to always be in front of the train. That's my, and for instance, one of the things that I'm doing quite, when I say doing, is actually this morning, how can I integrate ChatGPT on recruitment? That's my new thinking that I'm thinking about. Okay,
For
how can this be
2023
useful
for
for
sure.
us?
Yeah.
Well, how can this be useful for us, right? So, and that's one of the thing that is intriguing me at the moment.
We need to talk, Claudio. I already know how that will be useful for us.
Okay. I already have
a few
report.
ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. My quotes, I choose people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, from Simon Sinek. And
Simon Sinek.
I think this is true not only for candidates, because we all do recruitment, but why we do recruitment, why we are hiring, but the same things for companies, why they need more people, why they need your talents to do more stuff, to deliver more products. I think that's why it's really relevant nowadays.
Really cool. Fantastic. Thank you both. Now, for us to end the show, we invite, Gonçalo to ask a question to Cláudio, Cláudio to ask, a question to Gonçalo. Anything works, so be kind. But
I won't be kind, because now I'm super curious. Gonçalo, how can you think ChatGPT will implement for industry?
Ooh, yes, good question.
I thought that will be a secret for us to work together, Claudio.
Oh, sorry.
Now you are no.
Guys,
but now I
my
will
internet,
answer.
my broadband is. Yeah, okay.
No, I just think that ChatGPT can automate a lot of things, and I think candidates complain they don't have a good feedback. Companies complain they don't have also good feedback about the candidates. Why? And tell me, guys, if this is crazy or not. But if we can already transcribe interviews, already there is software that can transcribe a whole interview. Why you don't put that transcription on ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will generate like a report for the candidates and for the client or for the company, saying this was good, this wasn't so good, this is the summary of the interview, and we automate one part that usually recruiters don't like, Claudio, that is doing reports, but we can have like ChatGPT doing this. So if someone does that, please give me some credit about the idea, because I am spending so many nights thinking about this. No, just kidding. But I think I think that could be something cool for the industry to have this automated between both parties, and have like information right after the interview saying this is how the interview was done, this is the main topics, and at least they can learn something about the interview, because this is something that I really like to give my candidates, is teaching them something about the interview. Hey, you answered everything correctly except this part, you weren't so clear. And I give this feedback to candidates, but I don't see many recruiters doing it. And I think it's like free advice, but can make a lot of difference. And I still speak with candidates that I met almost 10 years ago just because I gave them feedback. So you create really a long-term relationship just because you speak your mind. And some people don't like it, but I also don't like that people. So I really appreciate people that like to receive feedback, and we can improve and get better over time.
Gonçalo, your turn.
Yeah, my turn. So my question is a bit more personal, Claudio. That so you have been dating for someone for quite some time, has a kid with your wife that also works in the field. Do you have discussions about the field every night or not?
No.
Oh God, please
we have no. We have a golden rule. Work doesn't. We don't speak about work. Sometimes it's quite challenging because it's quite challenging because we already had a really bad experience back in the day, and we learned from it. So I work as a waiter on Praia Grande. So one of the things that I do it during the summer times is working, that I can have money to travel, and my wife the same. So we work in the same restaurant, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week for 2 months. She was the dessert girl, and I was the guy that was a waiter. So, and I already Aline already asked you 2 cheesecakes 10 minutes ago. And that look, so I learned from bad experience when I was with her. So we don't speak at all about work. Of course, when I say at all, sometimes, I have a problem. Do you think that? But just advice, not the way that I put it on a daily, or even weekly. Sometimes there are things we don't talk about. It's for our own health.
No, I agree. I wouldn't start a business with a relative. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah. I start the Recruit Better community with my ex, so I think that means something.
There you go. It's proven. There you go. It's science now backing this up. It will come up on ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, should I start a business with my wife or my partner? No. But what if no? Okay. No, fantastic. Gonçalo, Cláudio, it was an amazing show. I had a blast. Sarah also already mentioned that it was so good. It was a pleasure. I knew it from the beginning that it would be an amazing show having both of you here. Talking about the field that you're both experts. For anyone that is on the internet seeing this, thank you so much for your time. I hope that you learned a ton as well. Feel free to reach out to Gonçalo if you want to see how he can definitely move some needles in the recruitment. Cláudio, just like we mentioned, he's running such a successful business in Portugal, so it's a no-brainer as well. And yes, and so this is today's show. I hope everyone enjoy and take care. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.